Hey, thanks for tuning into the channel. Today's topic of discussion is how old should you start a child on guitar? If you're a guitarist and you've got guitars laying around the house and you've got children, they probably want to play guitar too. And they want to be like daddy or mommy. And I'm real proud to be the father of 5 adult children. All of them learned to play the guitar. Some of them play quite well, professional level. Some of them play just for their own enjoyment. They also learn to play piano from their mom and other instruments as well. All of them sing beautifully. So learning music in our house is sort of like a fish learning to swim, right? Just music was just all around. It was like walking and talking, and you learn to play the guitar at some point in your development. But that said, what point is the best point to start a child? Now, you can go to YouTube and you can probably find a video of some little 3 and 4-year-old kid that's playing a concerto, you know, on the piano, or you might find a little like 8 or 9-year-old, like, what's that what's his name, Aaron, that little funky bass player guy who makes all the faces, and he just throws down on like gospel bass, and he's just amazing. But he started out when he was like 8 or so. So what is the best age to start? I would throw out there that if you have children that are interested in wanting to play music at 3 or 4, that you find something other than guitar to interest them in. Get them a little flute, get them a little keyboard, put them in piano lessons or something like that. The reasons for that: number one, 3 and 4-year-old kids are little. Guitar is big. Holding a guitar is almost impossible. So a piano, they don't have to hold it, they don't have to tune it. When you plink it, it makes a tone that's fairly pleasing no matter who the person is, compared to something like a violin where you're going to hear this scream. A bowed instrument, or somebody trying to learn how to play a reed instrument. A lot of squeaks and squawks and stuff that come out. So piano, for your own sake, is a pretty good bet for a small child. When they hit 7 or 8, that's probably a pretty good time. Child at that age is probably big enough to hold a guitar, especially if it's a small body guitar like an electric guitar, or let's say a parlor size acoustic. It can be held pretty comfortably. What I did with my kids when they were about 7 or 8, we had a baritone ukulele we kept around the house. And the ukulele is tuned like the baritone ukulele is tuned like the bottom 4 strings of the guitar. So the chord shapes you learn translate right over to the guitar. You just have to add the notes for 2 more strings in there. Baritone ukulele has nylon strings, so it's not hard on the fingers. I don't know if you've ever noticed this or not, but little kids are kind of whiny, and it hurts. My finger hurts. They're not into the gaining through pain, right? That's just not their thing. Older kids, teenagers, they'll push through, but little kids, it takes a lot of dedication to get through the pain of learning to play the guitar and building up the calluses and things. Part of the reason for that is student guitars and the quality of them. If you have a small child, you think, well, I'll just get one of those little half-size guitars. Those are usually terrible guitars. They put regular guitar strings on them for a guitar that's got half the scale, so the strings are really super floppy. They won't play in tune. Fret placement in the guitar build is usually not very accurate, and so they end up with a guitar that just won't play in tune. You tune it up where it shows up in tune on the tuner, and you play a chord and it's out of tune. That's because the intonation is just not right. Most parents don't want to spend money to get a good student instrument. I used to run a music store way back in the 90s. And this is the kind of music store that has band instruments and drums and guitars and basses and pianos, and the full line music store. And when school would start every year, you'd have the kids coming in 5th grade, 4th grade, whenever they would start band in the public school, and they're bugging the parents that they want to learn to play an instrument. So the parents go, okay, fine, let's go down to the music store and see what they've got. And the parents, they come in the door and it looked like you hit them in the head with a baseball bat when you told them the prices of things. You know, beginning student clarinet's going to start $500–600. Had one kid come in, he wouldn't settle for anything else. He wanted to play oboe where you even heard of an oboe, I don't know. But he decided he wanted to play oboe, and another kid wanted to play bass clarinet. He would be inconsolable if he wasn't going to get to play bass clarinet. Well, the cheapest bass clarinet I could get was $2,200. The cheapest oboe I could get at a student level was about $1,200, and this is in the 90s. The parents came in, and looked like you just whacked him in the head. You tell them these prices, and then of course you got to get the stand and the cleaning kit and the bore brush and all the different things, valve oil, and they're walking out of there with their pockets empty. Or you'd rent them an instrument, which we had a rental program, which that was the lifesaver for most of them. To be able to do that. Now, most parents of a child that wants to learn how to play guitar are not going to spend that kind of money. They're going to spend, maybe they want to spend less than $100. And although there's a lot of guitars nowadays you could get on Amazon, and if you know what you're doing, you know how to do a setup on one, you can actually get a guitar that's in the $100 price range and make it play halfway decent. But most parents don't know how to do that, not unless they're a guitarist. And they don't know what to do if the guitar doesn't play well, it doesn't play in tune, the action's too high, all those kind of things. And so they'll buy one of these cheapo instruments and it won't play in tune, and it's not satisfying to the kid, and the kid breaks a string, or and then the guitar just ends up in the corner, and then eventually goes out to the garage sale a few years later. So if you want to get a kid interested in music, you got to get him an instrument that's going to be pretty decent. And those little half-size guitars are not going to cut it. Some manufacturers like Yamaha do make like little half-size and three-quarter size guitars that are fairly well built, but they're not inexpensive. You're going to lay out $300-400 for one, and for many parents that's just too much money to lay out for an instrument they're not sure the kid's going to stick with. It may just be a whim. The kid wants to try this, and then they get bored with it, and then they'll just set it aside, and the parents out that money. And most music stores don't have a guitar rental program, because once a kid has beat up on the guitar for a while, it may not be playable, or it may be dinged up so bad that nobody else is going to want to use it afterward. So that could be a problem there. The instruments themselves. So the small guitars just don't quite work. Baritone ukulele for a 7 or 8 year old child is usually a pretty good way to go. Next thing is songs. What kind of songs does the kid know? They know Disney songs? Are they listening to songs on the radio? Do those songs have guitar in them? Do you listen to country music? Possibly. If you listen to hip hop music, well, any guitar that's in there is probably just a sample of a guitar that's been synced in with on the digital audio workstation that they recorded it on. Having an actual guitar part is a pretty rare thing. So does the kid know any music that would be playable on a guitar? Are you going to be teaching them music from the 70s and the 80s that you learned? Are they going to be interested in that? It's one of the reasons why in my teaching of lessons and stuff today, I just teach adults, because we know the same music. I don't know the music that the kids listen to anymore. I teach school and I hear the music, but I don't know it, and most of what I hear I don't like. Why don't I like it? Because it doesn't have guitar in it. It's music that's put together on a computer. So that's one of the factors that you need to consider. What songs are they going to want to learn? Another thing is can the kid read? I mean, read text. If you sit down and read a simple children's book, appropriate for a first grader, second grader, because you need to be able to associate a symbol with a bit of information, right? And so to read music, now you say, okay, well, we'll just teach them play by ear like I do. All right, so that's the way most guitar players play by ear. They figure songs out. Little kids can't do that, and they need something, kind of a crutch to get them through. And teaching them to read music is probably the easiest, fastest way to get them playing. So I would suggest, if you have a child that really seriously wants to learn how to play the guitar, if you buy them a decent instrument to start with, then take them to a classical guitar teacher and have them learn how to read. They'll learn how to play simple songs that are kind of fun, kind of satisfying, sound good, have structure, develops technique, and they can learn how to play and then develop in that particular way. And then if they're into folk music or they're into rock later on, then they can branch off and do that once they get big enough to hold a regular full-size guitar. One of the things, if you don't want to use a baritone ukulele, you can, if the child's old enough to hold a nylon string guitar, a classical guitar, that could be a pretty viable item, because number one, the nylon strings don't have much string tension, not so hard on the fingers. You could, for a smaller child, you could capo it at like the 5th fret, and then as they learn to play, just slide the capo down a fret, and then they learn to play, and then the hands develop the reach. And they could do it. With my kids, we tried all those kind of things. We tried the baritone ukulele, and then we graduated from that up to the classical guitar with the capo, and moved it down, and eventually they all learned how to play. So those are just some of the ideas that you can keep in mind. 7 or 8 year olds, they can hold a guitar, but I've seen many, like my one 7-year-old boy who wanted to learn country music from me. He would come in wearing his cowboy hat and his cowboy boots, and he had a big dreadnought guitar, kind of a Martin copy that his dad, was loaned to him. It was an Epiphone or something, but he would be like, his arm would be where he could hardly reach over the top of the guitar. The kid needs to be able to hold the guitar comfortably and be able to sit with it for enough time for practice. The other thing too is practice sessions. If you have a child that wants to practice, you say, you got to practice an hour a day. That's old hat stuff. Maybe they used to do that back in the day, but not anymore. I teach regular school. I'm a history teacher, and one of the things that you learn in education is that the age of your child that you're teaching is essentially what their attention span is in minutes. If you're teaching 12-year-olds, you got to present the information you're going to give them. You got 12 minutes to get that information in before they start to zone out, and then give them some practice time, but don't expect them to sit there and practice one thing for an hour. Divide up a practice. Said, okay, you're going to practice slurs or hammer-ons, or you're going to practice changing between these 3 chords for 5 minutes, and then give them another activity they'll do for 5 minutes. Those kind of things are essential because the attention span is limited. If you tell a kid, even with piano, okay, you're going to sit here and practice these scales for an hour, that kid's going to die a little bit inside every time he touches the instrument, and he's not going to want to play piano, and it's going to be a chore. And they may never grow up enjoying the benefits of having music in their life. So the time span spent for practice. Parents used to be surprised when I tell, if I had like an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old, and I say, yeah, they should practice 10-15 minutes a day. And they go, well, how's that enough? Well, that's enough to get them through, and their fingers are getting toughened up, and they're getting their strength and their grip, and if they do the exercise, and they do it for 15 minutes a day. Face it, when you're learning the guitar, especially from a method book or something like that, what do you know how to play? You're doing little exercises like that. That's not very interesting to play those for more than about 5 minutes. You get bored. And to let the kid thrash around on the instrument or something. If he's got a little electric guitar, let him turn it up and make some noise. If he's playing with an acoustic and he's banging on it and making noises and singing in the sound hole, let him explore what this thing can do. He might come up with something really amazing. There was one fairly famous guitarist that was known for, like, in the avant-garde world, and he was doing all kinds of crazy stuff like that, and his teacher told his parents that he played with the ferocity of a retarded child when he was a kid. So it's like teachers can do a lot of damage to the kid's psyche if they're not supportive and stuff. So that's some ideas they're throwing out there for teaching a child how to play. What do you think? What do you think is the best way to teach a child how to play? And put it in the comments. I always like hearing comments and some feedback on this one. This is no hard, fast kind of rule. This is just my own experience talking, and it's a topic that seemed to be worth doing a video on. Again, like, subscribe, and share. That's your call to action. And then check back again for new content, and we'll catch you around. Make sure also you check out the Guitar Hangouts. Those people are enjoying those, and I'm getting some good feedback on those from folks that have watched them. So till next time, take it easy. Bye.